group of people who are not, in fact, related by descent are fictive kin, is what the term that anthropologists often use. Another technique is commensal celebrations, sacramental meals, as a way of fostering an illusion that people are, as we say, one flesh. There is a widespread conceptual quirk of humans, sometimes called psychological essentialism, that we feel that living things gain their powers by being made out of some kind of stuff or essence, some material that makes up their constitution and gives them their powers. And this can be seen in very young children. It can also be seen in educated adults who really do believe in the old adage, you are what you eat. One of my favorite experiments was from the psychologist Paul Rosen, who described a number of fictitious tribes to University of Pennsylvania undergraduates. And each one of these tribes hunted both turtles and wild boar. But what he manipulated in the experiment is that some of the subjects were told that this hypothetical tribe hunts turtles for their shells and hunts boar for their meat. The other was given the opposite description, that the tribe hunted boar for their tusks and turtles for their meat. Then he asked them, after the story in which these little cues were embedded, to characterize the members of this tribe along a number of personality traits. And he found that those to whom the tribe was described as hunting boar for their meat, described the tribe as fierce and tough and bellicose. And those who were given a description of the tribe that hunted turtles for their meat described them as good swimmers, at home in the water, and so on. Ivy League students. I don't know if it's been replicated at Harvard, but I have no doubt that it would work. The punchline is that the widespread practice of cementing solidarity in belief and in other human commitments is very often accompanied by sacramental meals. The idea being we all eat the same stuff, we're all made of the same stuff. And yet a third technique is ritualistic repetitive motions, bowing simultaneously towards Mecca, standing up and sitting down at the same time, engaging in simultaneous coordinated postures. And this, I suspect, exploits a property of human perception, which psychologists call the Gestalt law of common fate, namely when objects move in a parallel trajectory, they're seen as being grouped into a larger object. An example being when you see a flock of geese flying south in a V formation, one can see it either as individual birds, or it sometimes really looks like a flying V, as if the tightly coordinated motion gives the illusion of it being one large object instead of a collection of small ones. Now, that's not why the geese do it, but it might be why the congregation does it, that if one sees several hundred bodies moving together, one feels as if one is part of a larger superorganism, which is that much more formidable and impressive. This brings me to a final point. Again, the fact that these tricks have to be used, I have to emphasize, because I think it's easy to confuse two positions. One is that people are, by engaging in these rituals, are naturally susceptible to a group psychology, and therefore the behavior is evidence that people naturally submerge their interest to those of the group, with an idea that the opposite idea, which I think is a better fit to the phenomena, namely that people don't naturally submerge their interest to the group, and which is exactly why these ceremonies and rituals and simultaneous public avowals and costly sacrifices are necessary. We don't need complicated rituals or costly sacrifices to induce us to breathe or to eat or to have sex. People don't need much inducement to do those, but they do need an inducement to avow these counterintuitive beliefs and to meld their minds with those of the rest of the community. The final point is that, again, returning to one of the major themes of Richard's earlier writings, that in technical evolutionary biology, human religion is not the only example of animals making a paradoxically self-sacrificing kinds of behavior that biologists often will see in snails, in birds, in all kinds of creatures, behavior that would seem to go against the fitness of the individual. And I think one of Richard's most interesting contributions to technical evolutionary biology is that this paradox can often be resolved not by asking what good is it for the snail to sacrifice itself to the birds, but rather could the snail be being manipulated by some other organism, and so the snail's self-sacrificial behavior may not be to the benefit of the snail, but to the benefit of, say, the parasite inside the snail that is pulling the strings and pushing the buttons of the snail's nervous system to get the snail to do something that, in fact, runs against the snail's interests, but that is compatible with the parasite's interests. And in solving the puzzle of self-sacrificing behavior in the context of religion, the right way of framing the question, in the spirit of Richard's theory of manipulation, is not what good does it do the individual who's prostrating himself in front of the gods, but what good does it do the religious leader to be able to manipulate the flock to sacrifice themselves for the benefit of the group and indirectly for the benefit of the leader of the group. And another widespread constituent of religious practice is, first of all, the fact that there are religious leaders, shamans and priests and so on, but that they also cleverly abase themselves in front of an even higher power, this hypothetical disembodied spirit, this world of wonders to which they have privileged access. And in fact, sometimes it's rather convenient to invoke an invisible higher authority in order to get what you want in situations of conflicting interests, such as bargaining and threats. So just to take an analogy, you go into a car dealer, you want to negotiate the best price for the car, and you say, can you sell me this car for $20,000? And the car salesman says, I would love to do that, but it's really not in my power. Let me go check with my boss and see if he'll let me do that. And then they go out, smoke a cigarette, come back and say, well, gee, I would really like to, but my boss says that I can't do it, and I like your face, and you're a worthy customer, but it's just beyond my power. So I can only sell it to you I can't go a penny less than $22,000 as much as I would like to. So that dynamic of sacrificing control in deference to some higher authority, especially one to whom you have exclusive access, is actually a rather clever negotiating technique. And likewise, a leader who says, the guy upstairs won't let me do this, has asked me to pass on this command to all of you, and so on, might be taking advantage of a feature of our psychology in pursuing his own goals, possibly at the expense of the goals of the followers. So I'll end up on that note with a note of how religious leaders can sometimes deliberately abase themselves to a hypothetical higher authority with a joke. And religion, of course, has been a fertile source for jokes and humor. And this one is set in a synagogue on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year, and at the climax of the ceremony, the rabbi and the cantor are standing in front of the opened ark, in front of the Torah. The cantor falls to his knees, looks skyward and says, "Lord, I am nothing." And the rabbi falls to his knees and says, "Lord, I am nothing." The congregation is overcome with emotion. And the janitor at the back of the room falls to his knees and says, "Lord, I am nothing." And the rabbi says to the cantor, "Look who thinks he's nothing."